and welcome to Theatre of Dreams. We have been entertained. We have a new world champion. The footballing gods have given us a final that will be remembered for the ages after rather scrappy finals in 2010 and 2014. For the neutral, pretty much to be happy about. France are the new world champions. After a 4-2 win over Croatia, the second French footballing revolution has arrived. They came to Russia as co-favourites. They stayed unbeaten all through, just one draw in the tournament, while they won every game in regulation time. Hearts go out to Croatia's new golden generation, but on the night, France are worthy champions. Ashley Westwood joins me from Sydney, and in the studio, Eugeneson, Lyngdoh here with me as well. Ashley, let me start with you. We've seen a cracking game of football. Your first thoughts?
Well, obviously entertaining, which is what we're after. Sometimes World Cup finals are a little bit dull because it's so tense and the prize is so big. But 6 goals, we can't complain, an own goal. And then obviously counteracts the own goal by scoring another goal. Goalkeeper mistakes, VARs, everything but a sending off, I think. So a bit of everything and a good end to a fantastic World Cup campaign. Yes,
all that you mentioned, and there was no headbutt as well. But Eugene, we kept wondering, after that Argentina game, will we see this French team again? And they continued to disappoint us. They kept getting the wins, but what a time to turn up. They turned up in style in the final.
I think it all panned out for them. I mean, after an own goal and a penalty, then obviously things fell into their hands, into their game plan. But a disappointing thing for Croatia to concede a penalty in a kind of situation, so it's just a bit disheartened.
Ashley Westwood, they came into the final with the tag of favourites. It's very difficult. If you are a favourite, you have to be on your guard. They were also the second youngest team at this World Cup, but you cannot dispute the fact that they are worthy champions.
Yeah, they certainly are. I still get the feeling that they can have an extra gear. We've seen them do another efficient performance tonight, obviously helped by an early goal, always settles the nerves. 18 minutes when Mandzukic unfortunately puts the ball into his own net. But, you look right across the side, the French side, obviously Mbappe was in blistering form with a fantastic goal. But everybody just does their jobs. They're so compact. And if you talk like Mbappe on the right-hand side, Matuidi on the left, and I was looking, quite close at their defensive positions. They were really coming deep, almost playing at fullbacks at the time. They've got the back four, France, and then Mbappe comes deep on the right-hand side, Matuidi on the left. And they just have such a compactness about them. Obviously, Kante and Pogba in front, and everybody makes it so hard to score against. Yes, they conceded 2 goals. One was a deflection, but this was a cup final. I think they've just done the job professionally, efficiently, and for me, it was never in doubt.
It was never in doubt for him. There was a period when you were wondering if Croatia could claw their way back, especially at 2-1. But just talking about the French pace today, to do it in a final is something which stands out just because of the finals we've had over the last couple of World Cups.
It's just the quality that they have in them, they have players who you can depend on and you can rely and, on a final like this, and they stepped up. You can say Mbappe had a shot on goal, and same way as Pogba. So it's just that the quality that they have that actually been efficient.
And actually contentious calls as well. Eugene thinks that, one of them played their part in France rolling through as well. What did you make of that shout, the VAR shout?
Yeah, well, to be honest, it's a FIFA nightmare. The FIFA would not have wanted a VAR decision to be called upon in the final. They wanted this World Cup to be about players. They wanted it to be about the great players, the great sides. And they wanted VAR to be there if called upon. But they didn't want it to make such a big decision. And for me, it was a 50-50 one. Those 50-50 decisions, I'm not sure you should favour the attacking side. But as soon as it was called for, I think everybody had the feeling that they're going to give it. They have to give it because it's touched his hand. Whether it was intentional, we probably don't think it was. The hand, was it in an unnatural position? Probably not. That someone has just ducked just in front of him, and it's hard to get his hand out of the way. But at the end of the day, once the cameras show that it's hit the hand, I don't think the referees have much decision but to give it. But it was certainly a grey area, that's for sure.
Yes, because, Eugene, we were talking about this, that for a while we hadn't seen much of VAR in this World Cup, especially after the round of 16 clashes. Now, the crucial bit, as Ashley says, is you see it, you give it. But the crucial bit is this. He's going to kick the ball, Perisic. The ball comes from behind the attacker, and his hand is already going down. I mean, you saw a similar one given with PK, but his hand was up in the air. This time the hand was going down.
No, I mean, he was completely just behind the striker at the moment, and I mean, you wouldn't have expected, he would have expected the player to head the ball, but he missed it and just hits his hand. So according to me, I feel like it's the ball hitting the hand in a very close proximity. So it was hard that they were, given the penalty, and it's just, I mean, that actually had momentum on the game. As Croatia were building up, and then they got that goal, and then it cooled down the game, and then from then on, fans were just like cruising in,
Ashley, do you agree with Eugene? Was that the turning point in the game for you? That goal?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, it just before half time, it obviously deflates you. Mentally, you feel unjust, thinking that's never a penalty. So psychologically, it's hard to get yourself up. I think first half Croatia had around about 63% possession, so they were on the front foot. But then that's also a little bit of the French tactic. They drop off, they make it compact, and they try and hit you on the counter with the speed of Mbappe. But it was a good moment. If Croatia can go into half time at 1-1, you can revitalise themselves, they can find their energy levels again at half-time, and they can go again. But I just think psychologically it was a huge blow. And I don't think it's since, I think something like 1998 until a team has gone into the half-time with a lead. Because normally World Cup finals, they're always tense affairs, but going into the half-time with the lead, and a psychological one, was probably just a bit too much for Croatia to come back from.
Okay, contentious penalty, but very cool Antoine Griezmann. He's got this crazy knack of scoring in the big games.
That's who he is, and that's why he's sorted out by all the big clubs in the world. And come the moment, come the player, with a composed finish. It's just, I mean, a top player. He's shown it.
And also, Ashley, the quality of the ball for the first goal, the quality of that free kick. Yes, Mandzukic scored on the wrong end, but it was all about that ball. Great ball coming in.
Dangerous, in swinging in with pace in the right areas. But sometimes you have to look at the Croatian defence. This was a tactic they used against England. They like to defend really deep on these in-swinging free kicks, whether it's because they're a bit scared that they're not good enough to defend. But the deeper they are, the harder it is for the goalkeeper. The contact's so close to the goalkeeper, he can't react. For me, you have to hold your 18-yard box. You have to stay as high as possible and give your goalkeeper a chance. And if there is a touch, it comes from 14, 15, 16 yards, not 7, 8 yards where the goalkeeper can't pull off a save. So deep defence from Croatia, and it's hard to counteract such an in-swinging dangerous ball.
Yes, and also I just want to ask you, as you said, we didn't expect too many goals in this one, though you did say in the previous show you expected France to score at least 3. But Croatia have been a side, Ashley, who've been nice, who've been compact, who've dominated the midfield. Why do you think they were caught out today? Was there something which did they fall into France's plans by really going at them pretty early? We've seen them being very patient in the matches all through this tournament as well. You think they went too hard at the top?
No, I don't think they went too hard. I just think that, the three midfielders, Brozovic, Rakitic and Modric, they normally dominate games. But then you look at against who they're playing against. They're coming up against Kante, Pogba and Griezmann. So it's arguably, France is maybe a stronger midfielder. Now, obviously, Modric is probably the best ball player out of all those 6. But man for man, it's a tough one. And they can't impose their dominating style with those 3 midfielders against the France 3 midfielders. Plus, then France defend a little bit deep and compact. They've got, like I've mentioned, Mbappe and also Matuidi back on the left-hand side. So they're really, really tight-knit unit. The back 4, the 2 wide players, the 2 sitting midfielders. All of a sudden, there's 8 players that you have to break down. So it becomes tough for Croatia. And they haven't got, apart from Rakitic, Modric, Mandzukic, Perisic on the left-hand side, there's not a Neymar there that can go and individualise, dribble past someone like an Mbappe and create his own goal. They have to have a nice team play goal. And I think France are that compact, that efficient, they just couldn't get the edge.
He's talking about Mbappe, and we will talk about him as well. But there was a period in the game when Croatia were trying to come back. They had wave after wave after wave of attack. But in a big match like this, in a World Cup final, you want the big names to stand up and deliver. And real quality from Paul Pogba. He's had a quiet World Cup by his standards. He's been largely in that midfield role with N'Golo Kante, mopping things up. Don't see him too much at once. The one goal he had was ruled out for an own goal as well. But for him, at that decisive moment in the match, to score that goal after his first attempt was blocked, to find the vision to get that kind of a strike on, says why United paid so much money for him.
No doubt he is a great player. He's got a great ability, and he's just shown his maturity in this World Cup. I mean, unlike when he was in Man U, he's more of a carefree player. But yeah, he looks more organized, more mature in the way he plays. He doesn't run, you know, like with the ball. He doesn't do stupid stuff. But now he's more of a team player where he gets the ball, he moves, he helps in attack, he helps in defense. So actually we see a more mature player where his experience is actually coming into play. So it's just helps when you have a player like that performing in your team.
Did it help that France had been at this stage before, Ashley? They had lost the final of the European Championships in 2016. Pogba himself had said that, you know what, we learned from our mistakes. Have you seen a much more disciplined effort? Because if you go back to that final, Deschamps was still in charge at that time. He chose his men wisely. After the first game, Ousmane Dembele went off. He went with his Girouds of the world. He went with the likes of Pavard and Hernandez over the likes of, say, Benjamin Mendy. So they learned from their mistakes and they kept the same template right through this World Cup.
Yeah, I think they did, and I think it was a psychological one they talk about. They beat Germany in the run-up to that Euros final against Portugal, and 6 of the players that played tonight was actually playing in that final, and they said to themselves, they've admitted it, Pogba's admitted it in the press, we got carried away, we thought we'd already won it. And you see after their third goal, I think it was Deschamps, and the message was calm down, relax. And he's basically saying we haven't won anything yet because he knows those previous scars are there, and that's something they've definitely learned off. I think it was 9 players in this squad, was in the previous squad, and like I said, 6 played in that final. So they know not to get carried away now, they know to see the job through, they know to make sure you stay grounded and you don't get too emotional. Obviously, when you win it, now you'll see the emotion.
Yes, and when they won it, we saw those lovely scenes. But I think all 3 of us in the future can tell our kids that we saw and covered this World Cup in a sense, where we saw the emergence of Kylian Mbappe. You know, we spoke about him, but give that boy one shot, he takes it. You know, he had his chances from the flanks where he's usually brilliant. This time, center of the pitch, just outside the goal, got his chance, took it. I mean, you have to go back to the likes of Pelé in 1958. We have seen the emergence of Mbappe in this World Cup, and those transfer fees, already it was spoken about as 160 million, is really going to go through the roof. Everybody now wants Mbappe.
Yeah, it's just shown that his capability, he's a player, I mean, he's got the talent, he's got the pace, he's got everything, and he's just shown that how clinical he is. He's got an opportunity, 2 shots, 3 shots, he makes count of them. So, I mean, and it just shows that he's 19 years old, and it just shows that how much as a player he has developed and how great he's going to become, and he's got many years ahead of him. So you can just expect the unexpected from him now.
Yes, Griezmann scores, Pogba scores, Mbappe scores. Isn't this what you wanted if you were a French fan? But a thought on Croatia as well, Ashley. Beaten, yes, not disgraced, and you really got to admire the likes of Mandzukic, who never gave up. You know, he forced Hugo Lloris into that era. I almost said Loris Karius, because you know where I'm coming from. But to do that to a keeper who hasn't conceded that much in a World Cup shows that they still believed. You know, they'd gone down 4-1, but they still believed, they kept at it. And this remarkable team ethic is something which we will remember Croatia for this final.
Yeah, without a doubt, they've showed huge characteristics, and that's the reason they've got to the final. Obviously, I don't think there's been a team ever get to the final that's been behind in all the knockout stages. You know, they were 1-0 down in every knockout game they played, but they came back because they had that fighting spirit, that never day sigh attitude, and that's the reason. Obviously, Mandzukic gets his goal tonight. You can say it was a poor touch by Lloris. He touched the ball in the middle of his body, which basically encouraged the mistake, and then he tried to skip round him. But, you know, chasing lost causes, sometimes you get rewards, and that's what happened. You know, they've had rewards against England. They didn't quite get it tonight, but like you say, they've not disgraced themselves. They've finished 2nd in the world. They're the lowest ranked team ever to get to a final, and they've got huge pride and respect of the whole footballing world, because they've done something for such a small nation. To get to the final has been fantastic for them.
Yes, and this is something they need to build on. You know, it was 20 years previously when the golden generation of Croatia first we saw them. It's been 20 years, and I think the best part about this match for Croatia, for me, was they went behind, but then Perisic. You know, we actually took a brave call. You too took a brave call, Eugene. You put him in your dream team of this tournament, and sensational strike. That just showed what Croatia were all about. They were never going to throw in the towel. They kept fighting till the end.
It's just belief, you see, believe, and believe in them to fight. Actually, a game is never lost until it's finished. So I mean, they just gave their all, but in the end, you know, they fell short. But unfortunately, I'm kind of sorry for them. But it's how it goes, you know.
But looking back at this campaign for them, you know, as you were saying, Ashley, small country, no one expected them. Football is an identity for them. You know, for me, growing up, Croatia was all about Goran Ivanisevic, and then you had the football team of 1998. This is really, really going to inspire a lot of people back in Croatia. We've already seen Belgium return to a hero's welcome, even though they came third. But imagine coming second in a World Cup, losing to mighty France, they of great footballing pedigree. This is something that has to be celebrated. I know those players will be disappointed at the moment, but ultimately when it all sinks in, it's been a great run.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, they've always mentioned that they've lived in the shadow behind the 98 side because they obviously got so far, but now they've finished higher than anybody else. You know, they'll go down in history as the greatest ever Croatian side. And now that should spur people on. I mean, it has such a knock-on effect throughout the country. You'll see younger kids starting to play football now. All the interest will be back there. They haven't struggled anyway with the footballing culture, but this will just enhance it even more. And it'll get everybody behind Croatia. And we look forward to the next games. I think, just off the top of my head, I think they might play England, actually, in October in the League of Nations. So that'll be an interesting one. All of a sudden now, eyes are on Croatia. And, you know, huge times for them in the future.
Yes, and also, you know... talking about France now, you know, we saw Didier Deschamps at the end, and in this entire euphoria, you forget that he's created a bit of history for himself as well. He's just the third player now to win the World Cup as player and coach, but along with the great Kaiser, Franz Beckenbauer, the only second man to lift the World Cup as captain and now to mastermind it as coach.
I mean, what a great feat. You feel happy. I mean, you've seen how consistent the team has been and how he has actually brought France, the way they played, they've been very efficient. It's just because of the coach's game plan, the coach's tactical approach to the game, and they've actually done really good job. He's actually done it, and he's actually imposed a France. And you could see the influence he's got in Pogba, because being a midfielder, you would have got, you know, so how Pogba's been doing stuff. So I mean, he's got he's got a great. I mean, Pogba has learned a lot from him, so it's evident.
He's learned to temper his enthusiasm. Perhaps that's the right word. But just going back in history, you spoke about 1998, Ashley, being Croatia, you know, emulating that golden generation. For France, it was always about 1998, wasn't it? Now, when you look at this, man for man, is this French team better than that French team of 1998? These are the comparisons that will be drawn in the aftermath of this win.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one when you're talking about players like Thierry Henry, Zinedine Zidane, Deschamps himself. You know, it's hard to compare. I mean, what we do know is that the world champions, they've got potentially to be better. They're a lot younger. I'm not sure if man for man they're better, but like I say, they've definitely got the potential there. But France have always had the potential. It's about getting that potential out of them. We've seen so many disappointing campaigns with France. We're never surprised if they don't perform to the maximum of their capabilities, but they've won it this time. And now, obviously, as an Englishman, as somebody else around Europe, you fear for the Euros. You know, if France can kick on from here, there's certainly going to be a force in 2 years' time.
Yes, and that's a question I wanted to ask you as well, because you look at a lot of teams after this World Cup. Germany will rebuild, Spain will rebuild, Argentina will rebuild. Are we looking at now an era of a second kind of a French domination? We saw it with that generation 1998. Went and won the Euros 2 years later. Do you think that there are any teams right now in world football? Perhaps Germany could bounce back stronger than we expect them at the moment. But do you think there are other teams in this world right now who can challenge the French, especially after this high of winning a World Cup? The World Cup does that to you. You feel you're floating.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to look at the ones that are young enough to take this in the stride and improve. You know, Belgium have a decent side with good players that can improve. England were the second or third youngest side and didn't have a bad campaign at all, got to the semi-finals. So you expect those to be a little bit stronger. Spain are aging, you don't think they will be. Germany, you always expect Germans to have a reaction, some forward planning. But, you know, if you're talking about who you think is going to be right up there, I think it'll be hard to look past France in the future.
Okay, you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, I agree with them, yeah. France look like a strong team, and they're very young, you know, and they've won the World Cup. So imagine the confidence that they would have going to next tournaments, future tournaments. So obviously, they're a team to look forward to, and they're a team that's going to get stronger and stronger.
Thankfully, you said the next tournament, not the next World Cup, because we know what happens with the curse of the champions. But Eugene, just look back on this World Cup. You know, we started on this journey about a month back, you know, 14th at the Luzhniki, Russia, Saudi Arabia. We got a 5-0 start there. Ashley and I were jumping up and down, wondering what's going on. but they're calling it one of the best World Cups ever, if not the best. And we've got a final which has lived up to the hype in that sense, because I was there in 2010 in South Africa. That was like a complete battle of attrition. 2014 was also one which went right down till the end. Just before you approached the penalties, you got that winning goal from Gudza as well. So keeping that in mind, this final, a good fitting finale in a sense to this World Cup.
Yeah, to how it started and how it ended, it has really been, I mean, entertaining, I would say. For a neutral's point of view, they will love this World Cup because it had goals, it had upsets, it had everything. So it was more of a historical tournament that everyone would remember for all the ups and downs of teams. And a final like this, a 4-2 final and Croatia in it. So it's just an unbelievable World Cup.
One more thing for Croatia to celebrate, Ashley. Luka Modric winning the golden ball, and clearly well deserved. You know, this is something they will draw a lot of heart from, because he's someone who isn't perhaps well received back in Croatia, but this now puts him firmly on track to be crowned the best player in the world, and you know, finally end that domination of Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah, he's been a magnificent player. You know, to play the minutes he's played, you know, playing all the matches, I suppose, nearly every minute. Obviously being involved in goals as well, being so dominant in their possession-based football. And, you know, this is a man that's been at Real Madrid for 6 or 7 years. You know, he's played at the top level, Champions League finals. I think he's had something like 10 finals in the last 4 or 5 years or something like that. So he's been at the top of his game, but kind of not getting the accolades that he deserves, because you've got your Ronaldos, you've got your flair players, obviously your Neymars, your Messis, you know, people like that. Sometimes takes the light off him, but it's just showed you that a top footballer, you know, has rightly won the award, and that's basically not because he's got blistering pace, not because he dribbles past 5 players, because he's just such a well-rounded, you know, top ability footballer.
Yes, absolutely sensational footballer. Sadly, didn't end up on the winning side in this World Cup final. Okay, almost out of time on this broadcast, but before we go, here's a quick look at our final 3 winners of the Theatre of Dreams Predict and Win contest. Now, through the knockout stages of this World Cup, we've asked you, the viewer, to correctly predict the winner of each match. Calling a final is never easy, but many of you have got it right and picked France. And the 3 lucky winners of a brand new Kindle are Shiva, Arahu, Nashi, Saket and Harshavardhan Sharma. Many congratulations to the 3 of you, in fact, to all of you who have picked up prizes over the last 2 weeks. Okay, final comments from you, Eugene, as we wrap up this edition of Theatre of Dreams. We've had a great final. We've got worthy champions, you think?
Yeah, I think they're worthy champions. They've been efficient, like we said. They're the best team coming to the tournament. The best team has won it. Sad for Croatia to do the unexpected, but that's how it is. Football is a team game. You need everyone to perform. And at the end of the day, quality wins.
End of the day, quality wins, Ashley. How would you like to remember this World Cup?
Just a thoroughly entertaining goals. I think it was only 1-0 game.
France versus Denmark.
Yeah, which didn't have any goals. You know, we had probably over 30 penalties. You know, lots of VAR decisions, lots of attacking football. Some new stars coming to the fore. It's just been a thoroughly entertaining campaign. You know, I can't quite remember too many games where I've sat there and thought this game's terrible or it's boring. I think there was one Uruguay game that sticks in my mind that was a little bit dull. But apart from that, every game's had you on the edge of the seats. You've not been able to predict too many outcomes, and it's just been a thoroughly entertaining campaign.
Yes, thoroughly entertaining campaign, but thoroughly entertaining pundits as well. Thank you to Ashley Westwood. I know it's pretty late for you, but thank you so much for being with us all through this World Cup, Ashley. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. And the new revelation, Eugeneson Lyngdoh made his debut as a pundit. You're a great player yourself for India, but the promising career ahead for you, Eugene, when you hang up your boots. Thank you as well for being here on WION. So a month of superlative action, a month of spectacles from the greatest spectacle there is in sport comes to an end. 64 matches, 169 goals, a gazillion thriller-minute moments, and a new world champion. France and this new French Revolution will be remembered for years, as will Croatia and the Watreni dream, which left the world spellbound. Les Bleus are champions of world football again. Thank you for watching Theatre of Dreams.